This is the Lifestream Final Fantasy Podcast, episode number 13 for December 30th, 2015. Hello everyone and welcome to the Lifestream Final Fantasy Podcast. I am Mike Ficklin, also known as Vader SW1 on the forums. And joining me on this mythic quest into all things Final Fantasy are JasonTandro.
Howdy, hey.
AKA Santa Christ and a whole lot of other stuff.
Yeah, not anymore. I'm back to JasonTandro now, and I've got the whole Miss Universe thing because of the TLS awards. So yeah, I'm so happy, you guys.
And Ryushikaze.
Hello.
And for those of us that are just joining us for the first time, basically what this show will be about is for an hour or so every few weeks, we will discuss all things Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy related. We'll hit upon recent news and notes and delve into a different topic of discussion each episode. If you have a recommendation for something we should discuss, feel free to hit us up at lifestreampod@gmail.com or comment on the episode posts on the forums each week. And forgive my voice, I am dealing with a very nasty sinus infection, so I'm going to try and get through this as best I can.
For starters, I got one suggestion that maybe we should update here right off the bat. I feel like maybe we should update that opening a little bit because so far I don't think we've had a single episode yet, apart from the minisodes, that has been an hour. I think it's been more the or-sos.
Or-sos, yeah.
Yes, we are a podcast that lasts or so.
Well, you know, the whole thing with the podcast running an hour was actually on Flint, because Flint had asked that I try to keep the show to an hour, and I'm like, you know, I'm really not going to curb a good conversation just for the sake of keeping the show at an hour. So that's what the whole or so thing is, so...
Right.
Whatever. Not a lot of news and notes for the last fortnight here. I think Square must have got all of that out of their system here before the end of the year. The only real thing of note that I noticed floating around out there, and I wish Carlie would have been able to join us this evening, because they did release a new Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer that was revealed at Jump Fiesta. Have either of you gotten a chance to watch that trailer?
Nope.
I have not.
Yeah, I haven't either. I did. The trailer will definitely be on the show notes. I kind of read a little bit of a synopsis. Apparently it covers Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 before rolling into some new Kingdom Hearts 3 footage. Like I said, I will put the trailer in the show notes for everyone to review here. I was kind of hoping Carlie would be on because I know she probably would have watched it and she probably could have broken it down a little bit further for us.
I mean, that's a series. Like I said earlier, I said that's a series that's kind of made me stop following it because I was waiting so long for 3. The thing is, I know now if I go in and just play 3, I'm not gonna understand what the hell's going on. So I'm kind of only semi-hyped about it, but I still want to play it. So
he says semi-hyped.
Let me put it this way: I am exactly 100% as hyped for this game as I am hyped for the potential of in the future playing Final Fantasy 16. It is a theoretical hype at this point.
It's almost like Guns N' Roses in Chinese democracy. So yeah, that was really the only major piece of news that we had for the fortnight. We'll go ahead and roll into a real quick Final Fantasy Retrospective series update here. Again, we are playing through Final Fantasy 3, and where are you at, gentlemen?
I just got to the Cave of Tides. I mentioned this before the podcast, but I'll mention it for the listening audience. My strategy, if any of you happen to read my journal, and those of you who do, I'm sorry. But my strategy tends to be basically I start off really, really slow and methodical, and then at about like the 60% mark of any given game, I just hit this sudden urge of let's get it done, and I burn through dungeons like crazy. I did it with 1 and 2, even Medieval to an extent, and now I'm doing it with 3. Medieval, I do other games aside from Final Fantasy on that thing, but that's my strategy. I just play it slow and steady, and then eventually I hit the speed.
All of a sudden, JT takes off his boot, shines it up real nice, and sticks it up the game's monkey ass.
and the robe and wizard hat, of course.
How about you, Ryu?
I am just before the what is it? Is it the Temple of the Ancients? The Temple of the Ancients. I keep wanting to call it the Temple of Time, so I can get the harp, so I can wake up Une, so I can go and have her and get the airship to upgrade the airship to get the airship to get the other place. But I'm
Yay, fetch quests.
I mean, the latter half. Once you get the air quest, it really does become a series of, okay, now you've got an airship. Now go get your airship back. Oh, you lost it. Now go get a new ship. Now upgrade that one. Now go get a new one. Now come back to the old one. Now go back to that other one. But yeah, no, I've been replaying it and familiarizing myself with some of the interesting bullshit that have been in the game and that were taken out. For example, have you revealed the new world map yet?
Oh yeah.
Have you gone up the corridor with your airship and been knocked back?
No.
Okay. There's a corridor that you need to have the various fangs to get past. And in the remake, if you go up that corridor without them, you'll get bounced back. In the original, you just die.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shitty. So if you hadn't saved your progress up to that point, you just got fucked.
Yep.
Shitty.
Well, that's one way to keep you on your toes, I suppose. Guess what? Could be a trap. Ah.
Oh, uh-oh. A mandatory Star Wars reference. I'm actually in Saronia. In fact, my ship just crash landed in Saronia, and I did a quick save just as I'm about to get in the middle of a battle there in Saronia. So I haven't been able to get back to it in a couple of days, but I plan on doing some more running through it now that I'm on another little mini vacation here. So be getting back to it shortly. By the way, for all of the little grindiness and fetch quests of Final Fantasy III, it is still better than Final Fantasy II by leaps and bounds. Just gotta say that. So.
Oh yeah, it's a solid Final Fantasy. It's a solid title. I'm
waiting to see how your opinion changes once you get to the end.
Okay, I've played Final Fantasy III before, Ryu, so I know what's coming. So
yeah,
and I still think Final Fantasy III is a better game. So I'm looking forward to hearing what JT has to say about it, though.
Yeah.
Well, I'm at this point, like I say, I am interested in seeing where it goes. I only know kind of like the general storyline from the retrospective, from Game Trailer retrospective. I mean, and
which is amazing.
It was amazing. We've mentioned it before, but yes, watch it. But I don't know, man. Storyline wonkery does not bother me so much, as evidenced by the fact that I love Final Fantasy VIII. As long as the gameplay remains fun, I'll still give it a pretty high rating. And I think so far, like I say, it's not stellar. I wouldn't say it's like one of the best ever, but it's a solid title so far, which is more than I can say about 2.
I figured for this episode, with that news and notes out of the way, I figured for this episode it'd be fun and somewhat topical to go ahead and talk a little bit about the Star Wars influence on the Final Fantasy series. And my God, am I looking forward to hearing Ryu spout on about his knowledge about this. So I'm really looking forward to this. So, Ryu, I think I'm going to let you take the floor here for a moment.
I mean, where to start? Final Fantasy references have been chunked into Final Fantasy since basically the beginning. And some of them are more subtle than others. Some of them are Biggs and Wedge. But, I mean, and then there's Star Trek references as well, like the ship being the Enterprise. That's, that in 3 that we're playing, we've got the Enterprise, and then later you get the Falcon, the fastest ship. That happens in 4 as well.
Isn't the Falcon the name of the ship in 6 as well?
Yes.
That's not the name of the original ship that you have, though, right? That's
the original one is
Setzer's ship. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's
Daryl.
Setzer's friend's ship that you Daryl ship.
Yeah, I was gonna say Biggs and Wedge show up for the first time in Final Fantasy 2. Is that right? I could be wrong.
I think that might only be in the remake. I know for a fact that they showed up in the original of 4, but I don't remember if they were named as those characters or not. But the absolute definitive these are Biggs and Wedge is 6. And there's been
for sure.
at least a Biggs and Wedge in each game since.
Well, at least the original translation for Biggs' name was Vix, of course, but it's Biggs and Wedge.
Yes.
Yeah. And then in 7, they're in Avalanche. In 8, they're a major and lieutenant, and then a lieutenant and sergeant, private, respectively, in the Galbadian army. 9, I forget where they are in 9.
They are Knights of Pluto.
Knights of Pluto, thank you. 10, they are blitzball players you can recruit. They're more subtle there. 12, aren't they members of your guild in 12?
Yeah.
They are actually, they make a small cameo under the names of Gibbs and Duig. They're 2 Arcadian soldiers guarding the entrance to the Mosforan High Waste.
Wow. That is some subtle right there.
Well, not really.
not really subtle. That was sort of sarcastic. I think probably my favorite iteration of Biggs and Wedge in all of them was the iteration we got in Final Fantasy VIII, just because they were used as comic relief. And if you're going to have self-referencing characters, you have to make them joke characters.
For sure. Yeah. And they are probably one of my more favorite things about Final Fantasy VIII, despite the fact that I loathe the game so much. They are probably one of the better parts.
It's just, they're so fucking goofy, man. It's like the first time you fight them, I don't know, man. I like them. I have a very juvenile sense of humor, but whatever. That much is established. There's a lot of subtle like dialogue references too throughout the series that's just straight up take lines from Star Wars. Probably the best example is in Final Fantasy VI. If you're dressed as an Imperial officer when you go to rescue Celeste as Locke in the South Figaro scenario, Celeste will actually comment, "Aren't you a little short to be an Imperial soldier?"
Yeah. I think people have inserted stuff like, or games have inserted stuff like, "I have a bad feeling about this too," which is, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck, man. Final Fantasy 2 is basically A New Hope. It essentially is A New Hope.
Yeah, it's just very, the storyline, the archetypes, the characterization, it's pretty much spot on as far as how the storyline goes. So, and I mean, that's not even something they really hid that well. They pretty much said, yeah, this is kind of Star Wars. So realistically speaking, if you think about it, between Final Fantasy 1 stealing its gameplay and design from D&D and Final Fantasy 2 stealing its stuff from Star Wars, its storyline at least, Final Fantasy 3 is probably the first unique specimen, even though it certainly has its elements that it's absorbed. That's something we got to discuss in the retrospective there.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, for what we're getting for the first unique all around, it's astounding. That world map, man, the first world map reveal when you get off the floating continent just give me chills, man.
Interestingly enough, I think another Star Wars reference for the Final Fantasy series is Golbez himself. I mean, would you not equate Golbez to Darth Vader?
He's a Darth Vader character. Instead of being father, he's brother. But yeah, Golbez is very Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Even Gabrynth from Final Fantasy 12.
Oh yes. I mean, he fits even more so because he's got his armor. Like, Golbez is clad in armor, but he's not. He doesn't have the samurai profile that Vader does, but Gabrynth absolutely does, despite being in more Western armor.
Totally agreed. I think we even have some Obi-Wan Kenobis from time to time with the Final Fantasy series too. Characters like Tella from Final Fantasy IV.
Oh yes.
Or
Tella,
would you...
I think Tella maybe in archetype, but not necessarily in personality. Because
No,
Obi-Wan was
definitely
very
not
serene,
personality.
and Tella was more snippy and kind of screw you whippersnappers. He was more like a Gandalf to me than an Obi-Wan.
Fair.
And we can't let Tella slide without sliding in his most famous line.
Spoony Bard.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I think if you're going for an Obi-Wan character, you'd be closer with like Bugenhagen from 7.
Maybe. You talking about from a personality standpoint?
In terms of personality and the role of the wise sage who kind of explains it all. Plus, he, spoiler alert, he does die at the end, but that's not really, he doesn't have a heroic death like a certain someone we know from that game. Frankly, it's like, he's like if you took Master Roshi and Obi-Wan and just put them together.
What about Auron from Final Fantasy X?
Auron is like Obi-Wan in the prequel trilogy, as loath as I am to bring that up. Because he's a wiser character. He's a sage, but he's still definitely a very action-oriented and even hot-tempered character. He's
I'd actually say he's kind of like the Han Solo, if Han Solo was asked to be the Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
So sort of like in The Force Awakens.
I could see that.
I think if you want a Han Solo archetype, you need to look no further than Balthier or Locke. Those are your Han Solos.
Oh, those are absolutely your full-on Han Solo. I mean, the cast of 12
is Star Wars.
Is
essentially.
Yeah, not even pretending.
I mean, Balthier and Fran are essentially Han and Chewbacca.
Yeah, except for I don't want to do things to Chewbacca, okay?
Well, no. Although I'm not sure Fran would let you do things with her anyway. She seems like a kind of a hard ass type.
She is totally a hard ass. And I'm gonna take a side note here and point out something that I think is, they put it in there as a kind of girl power scene, but it was totally just an exploitative excuse. The scene where she is bound up and then she gets enraged by the mist and she breaks out of her chains, and then Balthier drops the line, she didn't like to be tied up, but I didn't realize how much. I'm like, you threw that in there on purpose.
Totally. And you could equate that to Wookiee rage, couldn't you?
Kind of. I mean, that's just.
Yeah, speaking of Wookiees, I mean, Star Wars' answer to that, or I'm sorry, Final Fantasy's answer to that, possibly the Mogs or Kimari
would be probably close. The Mogs would be closer to like Ewoks.
Kimari's closer. They're
yeah.
Ewoks.
You're right. I'm sorry. I'm actually thinking of Umaro. I'm sorry.
Umaro would be a Chewbacca character. I'd agree. As far as Beast, but with a kind of like a heart of gold. Underneath the insanity, and Kimari kind of Chewbacca-ish, but I don't know. Not that Chewbacca is unintelligent by any means, but I feel like there's a bit more complexity to him than Chewbacca. So I don't know. What about Yoda? Do we have any Yoda characters in Final Fantasy?
Fusoya.
There you go.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Plus Doga and Une. They're absolutely Yodas.
What about I don't know how to pronounce his name, but is it Guido from Final Fantasy V? Sage Guido?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's the turtle sage, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if he falls into the Yoda, because he's definitely more comedic. He definitely is the sage, but he's he's bad lip reading Yoda is what he is.
I think the whole point, I think it's not so much the exact personality versus the archetype. The whole thing of Yoda was it's you're going in thinking Jedi warrior, he's got to be this super strong badass, and you see this tiny old hermit who's just really, really wise and not bound by his stature. And in that respect, I think the turtle sage is a Yoda archetype at least.
Yeah, though he's got at least a little bit of turtle hermit in him too.
I don't know.
Which,
I mean, essentially, you could probably say that there's probably Star Wars in fucking every Final Fantasy. I mean, like we said, Final Fantasy 2 is A New Hope, and I'd probably say Final Fantasy 12 is unabashedly Star Wars too. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Final Fantasy VI to an extent, although it's not directly ripped off. Of course, there are huge key elements like the Empire, and
yes,
so forth.
Oh yeah.
and even down to the point of Kefka throwing the Emperor or overthrowing the Emperor by throwing him over that cliff.
Yeah, except for in Darth Vader's case, it was redemption. In his, he was just pushed over the edge. You know.
Yeah.
Six, I'd say, is close. It's essentially It's Star Wars 5. It's very much about the darkness and things getting worse. 4 is episode 4. It's very much about, things are dark but they're getting light. With bits of things thrown in. Trying to think if there's anything that more accurately sort of reflects being 6.
You could say Leo.
You could say the Mughals were the Ewoks for sure in Final Fantasy VI.
No. I'm not saying that there's obviously lots of elements of 6, but I'm trying to say that a game that follows the same narrative arc as 6.
Oh, okay, I got you.
I'll say for one thing, as far as Star Wars references within 6, again, there's a ton of them. I would say Leo, General Leo, is probably your Lando Calrissian character in the sense that he begins as sort of a semi-villain, but then he redeems himself towards the end, and, of course...
Yeah, but he doesn't have that sweet turn moment when Chewbacca's choking the life out of him.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, and plus, let's face it, he doesn't have the looks.
He doesn't have that suave Billy D. Williams look.
Yeah, dude, nothing like. I'm sorry, Samuel Jackson is a great actor, but he is no Billy D. Williams.
Agreed. Nobody has Billy D. Williams' voice. Period.
And if they do, give it back. That's rude.
He sounds like the kind of guy, like, he is not supposed to be an action hero within the thing. He is supposed to be, like, narrating, like, he is the guy who does, like, the spoken word jazz songs where he doesn't really sing,
he's the party
just talks. But you don't
he's
care.
the party bard.
He totally is.
Oh,
I'm just gonna stand around looking pretty, and you're all gonna fight better.
Could you consider Final Fantasy's use of magic sort of similar to the Force?
I think that is just the tiniest bit of a stretch because in certain aspects, I'd say the closest we get to the Force in as far as it's being something that's sort of a natural thing that binds us and surrounds us would probably be in 7 with the Lifestream.
Yeah,
I would the live stream, but I'd actually say that the closest thematically would be in 4, where there is the light and the dark, and these are primal forces apart from magic, and they're the ones controlling things.
You could say the same thing for Final Fantasy 3 as well. Then.
Oh yeah, no. But in that case, because light and dark are purely primal forces in 3, and I get what you're saying, but in 4 they are forces which are all around us, but which are focused through people, and that's the whole point of, like, being consumed by the darkness, being redeemed by the light that Cecil goes through.
In the sense, as sort of an offshoot, there you have the same kind of thematic similarity with the Kingdom Hearts franchise, with the darkness and the heartless and so forth.
Which is why I'm still cheesed off. Well, not cheesed off, but, like, why the hell has that series never had a cameo by Cecil? Seriously.
For sure. I mean, I actually think Cecil makes more sense than even having Cloud in those games.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not to say that I dislike seeing Cloud in those games, but
for sure, yeah.
Cecil makes just so much more sense.
Well, and then you've got, if Lex would have joined us today, he'd probably be vehemently disagreeing because he hates Final Fantasy IV, so...
Well, then he can go, he can go fillet a tailpipe while it's running.
And singing real emotion the entire way.
And we are joined by Carlie.
Hey! Maybe we're joined by Carlie.
I will assume that Carlie is having microphone troubles, as always seems to happen when people just join Mumble.
Carlie, you with us? Put a hold on our conversation here.
But
Carlie, are you able to hear us now?
Yes, I am.
Hey,
Wow.
excellent.
Sorry about. I was working. I found out this morning I had work today, and I was still under the impression that the podcast was gonna be at the regular time. Then I checked the schedule and I started like, oh god.
Nope, you're fine,
It's all
Carlie.
good.
We actually we kind of breezed through the news. I am going to put a pause on the current conversation though, because I really want to hear if you've watched the newest Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. So
The one they did what was
Jump
it called?
Fiesta.
Yes, I did. I was watching it live. I was very excited because I got very excited for 2 reasons. One, I got to see Aqua, and that made me very happy. Like squealing noises, happy because I love Aqua. I so wanted her to be a playable character again, and like that little section when it showed, it looked like she was gonna be playable, and I was like, oh my god, yes. Then the gameplay they showed from Kingdom Hearts 3, the whole thing when you're in the car and you're shooting, that looked fucking awesome. So yes, I was very happy. I was very excited.
Kingdom Hearts Grand Theft Auto is gonna be great.
It made up for the fact that I had to sit for an hour listening to people talk that I couldn't understand about Star Ocean, and they would not go on and on and on. And it's not like even showing gameplay because they did that at first, and then it went on for an hour talking and talking. It would be better if I could understand them, but still, an hour talking. Like
Star Ocean.
and then the trailer was online for Kingdom Hearts. Like, okay, so I've been sitting watching the Lifestream for nothing.
So Carlie, did they finally give us an idea of when Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be released?
No, they did not.
When the number of virgin sacrifices is high enough, get to it, everybody.
What was said before was that they were gonna give like not exactly a release date, but around the time it was gonna come out. They did nothing.
Well, that's shitty.
Yeah. Well, what can you expect at this point?
They gave us something more to wet our whistles with, but nothing substantial to grasp onto.
I'm assuming it's not gonna come out next year because now, like, tomorrow's the last day of 2015, and there's still no release date. So to me, that says it's not coming out next year.
Yeah.
It would make sense if it comes out in 2017 because that and Final Fantasy VII, those were like the 2 games that made everyone turn into a shell squealing when they saw the first trailer.
So yeah, with that said, we actually were in the middle of our conversation about Star Wars and Final Fantasy, Carlie. We're actually just kind of throwing stuff out there, the comparisons between the two and such. Feel free to go ahead and jump on in. What anything stand out glaring to you that's hugely Star Wars meets Final Fantasy?
Final Fantasy 12.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I think that this should be called the Final Fantasy 12 and other Star Wars references episode.
Specifically from that game, Baltier and Fran, which are kind of like Chewie and Han. The only difference is that Fran is very attracted and they very heavily implied to be romantically involved.
That's exactly what I said.
Which of course, Han and...
That's exactly. I was like, yeah.
I love you, man.
Totally.
Han actually works pretty well as a Luke analog. That changes later in the, I guess you could call them spin-off games of Tactics Advance and whatnot, where he, becomes more like Balthier, because Balthier's his goddamn hero. And he starts being a shirtless sky pirate.
Well, I would say Vaughn as Luke is a fine in terms of the archetype. But again, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, the difference is, Vaughn had no reason whatsoever to be in that plot. Luke did.
Luke had no reason to be in the plot until Obi-Wan Kenobi said, "All right, you're in.
You're a Jesus, Harry."
Yeah. if not for Luke being related to someone, and this is something that, was not in the first film, he really would have just been, I want to come along. Can I come along? Okay, I can come along. Okay.
Well, technically, he didn't ask to come along. Obi-Wan asked him to come along.
Obi-Wan asked him at first, and then it took his aunt and uncle getting burned alive for him to say, "Okay, fine, I'll come with you."
Right.
Well,
Right.
I think it's not that it took that. He was on board before that, but he was definitely I gotta go check up on my. Oh well, yeah, we're definitely going now. We're definitely
Now I don't have to answer to my uncle.
Yeah.
That's kind of like saying, "Do you want to go to IHOP or Denny's?" and going, "I don't care where we go," and then you find out the Denny's is closed. That's basically what happens. Like, okay,
To be honest, I would go to IHOP regardless of Denny's being open.
and I guess it's closer to if the Denny's was burned down, but still,
Were there any other major Star Wars references we could think of, gentlemen?
Oh, there's probably
Carlie?
dozens.
Ash is like Princess Leia. There's some similarities with her.
Yes,
For sure.
Obviously you guys mentioned Bound and Lucas. Specifically in time, when you get off work, like so many hours of work, your brain's not working properly.
I'm waiting to
understand,
hear how you connect Penelo and Mara Jade.
Well, Penelo's voice actress, Karen Tavert, she did Mission in Knights of the Old Republic, and I think she played Padme once too, and she does another one in the Old Republic. So she does have connections to Star Wars.
Can you connect Penelo to Mara Jade?
Probably through Rule 44.
No.
Well, again, the voice actress played Padme, who would be her mother-in-law if she were alive.
I don't know about that.
This is the best I can do.
It's kind of like playing what is it, the
6 Degrees of Separation.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
You mean
I was thinking of 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
They're both
yes.
both are valid names for it. It's just that Kevin Bacon is the official thing you're separating from.
I have to say, in terms of, I'm sorry, Carlie, go ahead.
I mean, he's the one in like movies, and if you were to put that in video games, it would be either Nolan North, Jennifer Hale, or Steve Blum.
Or Quentin
Yeah.
Flynn. But the other three more than Quentin Flynn.
Fair enough. But like Quentin Flynn was everything. He was Reno. He was Raiden. He was he was freaking what's his face loser summoner from 10.
Loser summoner from 10.
You did not narrow that down.
Okay, the whiny one. Okay, let me narrow it down. The whiny one with the ponytail.
Okay, with
That
the
still
ponytail
could
has
be
narrowed
everyone.
it down. Yeah.
Okay, but no,
Hell, that
one
could
thing-
be Squall.
except for the ponytail, but let it grow out some. No, I will say this, and fuck all you haters. I will say this, the airship design from like 7 on started moving towards Star Wars-esque designs, particularly in 8 when Balam Garden and Galbadia Garden look very similar to some of the ships you see in like the Rebel what's the word?
Fleet?
Thank you. That's the one I'm going for.
Which
God.
one are you thinking of specifically?
Well, there's that one really fat one that is like
the one really fat
the one that's next to the medical frigate that gets blown up by the Death Star.
You're talking about the Mon Cal cruiser with all the blisters on it.
Yeah, the bubbly one.
It's a trap.
I can sort of see where you're going with, because that's a much more rounded ship, but it's not very spherical like the Gardens are.
It doesn't. I'm not saying it's exact, but they start leaning. I mean, whereas through Final Fantasy 1 through 7, they were pretty much strictly dirigible designs or flying ships. The Highwind being the most unique specimen, but basically it's kind of like a dirigible with rockets attached.
I'd say that the flying whale is probably the closest.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what about in 12? All the airships in 12 and the way they move about.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no, in 12,
I was gonna say
12 is
every piece
stupidly Star Wars in its airship designs.
Yeah.
I thought of another one.
What's up?
Aerith has the Obi-Wan death, in which her dying makes her stronger, even though she didn't purposely try to get herself killed.
Well, neither did
But
Obi-Wan. He's just sort of I'm good.
yeah, but that's not what happened to
Well,
Aerith.
technically, that was Alec Guinness's doing, trying to get out of doing any more Star Wars movies, and he still got in the other Star Wars movies anyway. So
Harrison Ford had the same thing going on. He wanted to be killed off in Empire, and he wasn't killed off. And in the original script for Return of the Jedi, he was killed during the raid on the Rebel base, which is why you'll still see the line in the movie that I think they probably should have cut from the script, but whatever, where he says, "I got the strange feeling I'm never going to see it again." Because in the original edit of the script, he was going to die during the assault on the shield generator.
It's so hilarious. Like, which one, Alec Guinness or Harrison Ford, did not like Star Wars the most while they were doing the movies?
Harrison Ford never said he didn't like doing the Star Wars movies. He just didn't want to. He felt like Han should commit self-sacrifice for his friends. He felt that was the way the character arc should go. But Alec Guinness just didn't like Star Wars at all. In fact, I've read numerous reports of where he took letters from fans asking for autographs and stuff and just burned them. He didn't. He would refuse to acknowledge Star Wars. Well.
Well, have you ever seen the Saturday Night Live sketch with Kevin Spacey, where he does imitations of like older actors auditioning for Star Wars, and he does one of Jack Lemmon where he's complaining because he's gonna play Chewie. It's amazing. I swear to God, that's probably like Alice Guinness audition went through. Like, what the fuck is this bullshit?
I just thought of another one, guys. We can equate the prequel trilogy to the mobile Final Fantasy games.
Oh, holy shit, man.
That's an insult, not a connection. And the thing is, I'm not sure which one should be insulted. I think the prequel trilogy should be insulted, actually. At your connection there.
Let's put it this way. Jar Jar Binks is annoying for an hour. Final Fantasy All the Bravest is annoying for $60.
Yeah. And Jar Jar actually gets better. Like, if you've ever seen fucking Clone Wars, he's good in that shit.
Are you mean his appearances in the Clone Wars cartoon?
Yes.
Nah. Fuck Jar Jar.
Listen, keep your fetishes out of this, alright? We've already had it with Fran, and we've already had it with Chewbacca. I mean, we can't go triple X rated just yet. It's not yet after dark. We have to go to the 1 hour mark.
Oh, I bet my Wookiee.
John Williams is the man. Excellent reference.
After dark.
If you haven't seen that video, watch
Here's
it.
the question. What would be the equivalent of the awful romantic plotline between Padme and Anakin in Final Fantasy?
In terms of how poorly executed and terribly written it was, probably the love between Snow and Sarah in 13, because it's like, I love you, but I'm not going to have any time with you.
No, because that was an off-screen thing, and we, like, literally, it wasn't, we were supposed to see these developing. It was, yeah, he lost her, he wants her back. No, if anything, I'd say...
What about Cecil and Rosa?
No, again, that's mostly established. In the remake of 3, they added a romance between Ingus and Sarah that goes nowhere. That is our equivalent.
Yes.
Well, except Ingus isn't played by Wood and Hayden Christensen. So.
I would say
the level of acting in 3 is just as good as Hayden Christensen.
To be fair to Hayden Christensen, Natalie Portman, amazing actress, she's an Academy Award-winning actress. She was awful in that movie, and it's not her; it's the fucking awful script that she was given.
Exactly.
Agreed.
It's not Hayden.
And the awful
It's
director.
not even Hayden.
Hayden Christensen is not a good actor, but it's not his whole.
He's
fault.
not that bad. I mean, you had literally the problem with the Star Wars franchise is George Lucas, which is why when The Force Awakens was over, the only credit he got was based on characters by. That's why that movie was good.
Yep, totally agree.
What about... Of course, this is maybe stupidly obvious because there's a lot of emperors, but Emperor Palpatine, not just a character with the title of emperor, but specifically a schemer who's mostly behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, that's common throughout all of Final Fantasy.
Emperor Palamisia is so friggin' Palpatine.
Agreed. Yeah, totally agreed. I mean, and even up to the point that Kefka finally overthrows Emperor Gestalt. I mean, you could say that about Emperor Gestalt, too.
Gestalt.
Or Gestalt, is that how it's pronounced?
It doesn't have an ending T.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. It's been a while.
Yeah. No, you're thinking of the Gestalt rules of D&D and other tabletop games.
Could be.
Wasn't the Gestalt something in 13 as well?
Yes.
Okay, this one's not necessarily story-wise, but Darth Vader, when you see him for the first time, the only way I could equate that to my growing up was Sephiroth. Like, same awesome music that you hear, you're just terrified of that villain.
Yeah, I think I mean, while I totally understand what you're saying, Carlie, I think for me, I think the better example of that is probably from Final Fantasy XII when we were introduced to Gabrynth.
But they've been pulling it for ages, because, I mean, that also applies to Golbez.
Yeah.
And
we've kind of been over that
especially
too, I think.
And he also works because of the late game. Oh wait, you thought he was the villain? No, it's this asshole.
Yeah.
I just compare it to my growing up having that experience. That's the only one I can compare it to. The other one that I could think compared to Darth Vader, when Darth Vader died, that he redeemed himself, sort of, that he died with his son, is Kuja in Final Fantasy IX when he dies with Zidane. Next to Zidane.
And in that respect, Garland's kind of course, your Emperor Palpatine character, although he sort of ends up helping you in Moria. I wouldn't say it's so much helping as gloating.
He's definitely mixing up the Emperor and the Vader in that one.
Do we have any good crime boss, Jabba the Hutt types? Don Corneo comes to mind.
Corneo, Chupon.
Totally.
Actually,
totally
Chupon's
Don
perfect
Corneo.
Chupon looks like Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah. But Don Corneo, totally, man. Especially if you take Don Corneo and put him next to the original Scottish actor that played as Jabba the Hutt in A New Hope. They're almost a spitting resemblance of each other.
Well, the Scottish guy doesn't have a really terrible mohawk, but yeah.
And you had the Leia and the gold bikini, and you had Cloud dressed in drag, so
So what you're saying is that in the remake he needs to be in a gold bikini?
I would not be surprised if that came as DLC.
With it being HD, that might almost come across looking like fucking Buffalo Bill, man.
Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me.
I'd fuck me. Yeah.
Please, Don Corneo, no one wants that to happen.
Now we've officially entered TLS After Dark.
Now here's the question. I'm dead serious. It's just an honest-to-God question. Given the way the scene plays out in the original game, when your focus is on Cloud, is in your party all the time up until about the halfway point, it makes sense that you followed Cloud. But I wonder if, since you can play as any character, I wonder if they're going to have the scene play out from whoever's character gets chosen's perspective.
I would love to have it be to show all three perspectives, regardless of who you pick. Have a short segment as Cloud, have a short segment as Tifa, have a short segment as Aerith. Depending, and the gameplay changes depending on which situation they're in.
It would be hilarious. I just got this image of Tifa kicking ass and throwing guys against the wall into the BDSM dungeon like Iron Maiden and shit like that. Just like
air juggling.
I did remember mentioning in a previous podcast that I would like, when they go to Gongaga and Iris finds Sax parents, that she goes outside to see that scene for her perspective.
Oh man.
Any other Star Wars references we can think of?
Oh, this is a conversation that could go on for hours and hours and hours. There's
Oh,
For
yeah.
sure.
there's
I mean, the bottom line is Final Fantasy is very heavily influenced by the Star Wars films,
And they want
and
you
for
to
good
know
reasons.
it.
So,
yes.
yes,
They are not hiding
sure.
that. They are tattooing it on their chest and then putting a shirt on that says, "I have a Star Wars tattoo on under this."
Yeah, I mean, essentially, in almost every Final Fantasy game, you were essentially playing a rebellion of some type.
Yeah. There's 3 main characters we haven't discussed yet, and just for the sake of, I guess, wrapping this up, we should take a look and see if there are any characters that match the C-3PO, R2-D2, and Leia archetypes.
I mean,
I
Leia's
did-
Ash for sure.
Yeah.
Ash is good. I'd say Celeste to a point as far as the action femme fatale type person.
Oh yeah.
Plus,
And
of course,
the-
the
Not
introduction.
personality
Yeah.
though. Not personality.
Not personality, no. But I mean, the way you meet her again, the whole Locke saving her scene was very Leia-ish.
Though. Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of personality, as far as she is a wise leader, she is capable behind the gun, but she's basically a good person who just can kick ass. Tifa comes close, but not quite on the mark. I'd say Ash. I think Ash is probably our best example.
What about Lightning?
Lightning is too emotionally dead to be a
No.
Leia.
I
Lightning might be a droid.
I would love to see like a character like Princess Leia the way she is in Final Fantasy, because I don't think we really had one of those like snarking at everyone. Like when they come to rescue her, she's
Yeah.
like completely criticizing them.
Can someone
But
get this
big-
big walking carpet out of my way?
Yeah, so I would love a character with that personality
Lulu.
in Final Fantasy. Well, she's more deathspan, and Leia is more here.
Yeah, Leia is probably the snarkiest character in all of Star Wars.
She just
She
has no fucks to give, pretty much. I don't think it's she's
Pretty
not
much.
emotionally dead. She just doesn't have time for this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
As Han says, we don't have time to discuss this in a committee.
like she just like a few days before they found her, she was her planet destroyed. Most people would be like completely emotionally having an emotional breakdown. She's like, no, it's like I'm gonna do shit.
yeah, her reaction to her planet being destroyed is pretty laid back. Maybe she is Lightning. Whatever. I didn't like him anyways.
I think it's more that she will not give the pleasure to the bad guys who blew up her planet to
No,
watch
she gives the
her,
pleasure
like,
to
having a
Jabba.
Yeah.
breakdown.
Oh.
Okay.
After
My
Dark started,
goodness.
that is not a party foul, okay?
My goodness.
What about C-3PO, the whiner protocol droid?
Steiner?
Yeah, it's like same robotic thing. The
Chink,
chink,
chink, chink.
Yes.
chink, chink,
Steiner.
chink. Yeah, that's right.
Totally.
Etiquette and protocol.
I think if you watch him walking, it's like the same thing.
You know who Steiner is to me? He is the perfect combination of C-3PO and Captain Hook. Constantly, Captain Hook for his constantly crying about bad form, and 3PO for the etiquette and protocol. So,
Oh, good Jesus Lord, that just ruined Steiner for me.
I got the perfect one for R2D2.
Yeah?
Baby.
Oh, kind of.
Vivi?
Yeah,
Except Vivi's not foul-mouthed and snarky, so
that's what you think.
It's most
In terms of stature and like tiny thing that can do an awful lot, kind of. I don't know if it's an archetypal thing. I mean, what's R2D2's character? R2D2's character is the tiny thing that doesn't look like it's a threat, but it is absolutely, definitely 100% a threat, and
Yeah.
can get stuff done, and is
Yeah.
the retainer of information. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's a good equivalent. That might be one that's we'll have to let the listeners decide.
Well, the essential idea of 3PO and R2D2 was they were basically Laurel and Hardy. That's essentially what they boil down to. And I don't know if you guys are very familiar with Laurel and Hardy's work, but they were basically, they were intended to be our comedic sidekicks.
Yeah,
I guess.
Lowell and Howdy, those guys.
See, I think Jason doesn't really know who that is.
That's kind of the thing there. No.
So just as you were picking on me a couple weeks ago for not knowing who Cortana is, now I have to pick on you for not knowing who Laurel and Hardy are.
Okay. So who? Tell me who these guys are, because I honestly have no idea what you're talking about, man.
They are old school film comedians. Hold on a second, I'll send you.
This is another fun
send
mess
you
you got me into.
Are we talking like Abbott and Costello types?
Yes, very
sort
much.
of. Yes.
Actually, now that you mention it, Laurel and Hardy does kind of ring a bell. I just don't know offhand who they are.
Google Laurel and Hardy. I'm telling you, you will as soon as you see them, you will know.
Wait a minute. I'm sure it's somewhere in the back of my brain. There's been like a Looney Tunes reference to those characters. Laurel.
There definitely has.
Laurel and Hardy. Lorem ipsum, yada yada. Oh yeah. Okay. I know exactly who these guys are because I know the freaking Fuhrer mustache dude. Okay.
Yes. So that's who C-3PO and R2-D2 were modeled after.
Which one had the Hitler mustache? That's the question. Oh God.
Gotta go with C-3PO.
Oh God. Okay.
I mean, he was built by Anakin.
Well, yeah.
That was the stupidest damn thing in the entire prequel trilogy, and that is saying a lot. Hey, kids, C-3PO? Yeah, Darth Vader built him.
Yep.
Even stupider than midi-chlorians?
No, midi-chlorians is on another level. That's not fair. That's like saying, which is stupider, this guy cutting you off in traffic and nearly causing an accident, or an atomic bomb going off because a guy fell in the control panel. No, they're not even in the same category. That is featherweight. This is like no, okay. But Jesus Christ. I think we've pretty much expelled everything. We've discussed all the characters, the storylines, the archetypes. Yeah. It's a rich tapestry, folks.
It definitely is.
Oh, yes.
Well, I think one thing that I would like to mention is like Final Fantasy in the last few years have the force has not been strong with the series, and Final Fantasy 15 maybe be what revitalizes the franchise, kind of like the Force Awakens has done for Star Wars.
For sure.
Maybe.
Then you might find people that find that Final Fantasy 15 was depressing and undoes everything in Final Fantasy's history, a la a certain someone that I heard a review about Force Awakens from. So, someone very famous out there. In fact, I will go as far as to mention, as he is an impractical joker, it came out and said that he felt like The Force Awakens was depressing and it basically undid everything that happened by the end of Return of the Jedi.
Huh. I'll have to look into that. I like snarky stuff. Incidentally, if you're a fan of the Star Wars movies and you have not watched the Plinkett reviews of the prequel trilogy, do yourself a favor and do that as well. They are feature-length reviews of each movie that completely tear this shit apart. And it's not just funny, the guy knows his stuff.
You don't need a review to tear those apart.
No, but he does. That's the thing. It's like, you don't need whipped cream and sprinkles on your ice cream.
Yes, you do. That's a requirement.
Okay, fine. You don't need caramel, but that he's the caramel that, you know.
All right, so with that said here, I also thought it'd be fun real quick. I thought I'd give everybody a chance here on the show to just do a brief speculation on what they think 2016 will bring for the Final Fantasy franchise.
A lot of debates over is Final Fantasy 15 actually good? Was it worth the years and years of waiting? Is it better than what they think the original vision was with Versus? The whole Stella thing, was it good to change her into Luna? Basically, what we always do, debate and argue. More waiting on whatever Kingdom Hearts is ever going out. Laughing at Square Enix for doing a special event to reveal the release date of Final Fantasy 15. So more memes.
All the
Maybe
bravest
more-
2, Electric Boogaloo.
Oh, fuck you.
Um,
Don't give them ideas, JT.
no, it doesn't require ideas. It requires looking at their bank account. It's like with them, it's and this is my biggest problem with the Square Enix model lately. It's been more about, and the remake, great. Thank you for listening to the fans. The changes they're making with 15, great. Thank you for listening to the fans. And on your strong console entries, you can do that. But when you're designing a mobile game, sorry, developers, you don't have to think. You have to create something that is addictive and that will make money. And that is all these games are. The closest that comes to a genuine gaming experience, and I have to give it props, is Record Keeper. I have not spent a dime on Record Keeper, and that is actually a very solid mobile game. Everything else that I've played is no.
Yeah, Record Keeper is just about the only mobile game that they've released in North America that's worth a damn. I mean, I've never played. Is it Before Crisis? Is that the name of the mobile series that was released in Japan only on mobile?
And from what I understand, it was okay-ish, but mostly it was.
And I have long wanted to play that, and I've heard it was okay-ish as well, but without being able to insert that into the conversation here, Record Keeper's the only one I've ever played that was worth a damn. So.
Yeah.
Before we leave, I would like to say something to Jason that will make him happy.
Yeah?
I'm playing Final Fantasy 14 again.
Woo!
Woot!
Oh my gosh. Welcome back
See?
to the dark side. It's amazing. You need to come on there. I'm doing two things. For one, I'm bringing my main character from Goblin over to your server because I know you people, and because my current free company has kind of become a not company. And so I'm just moving over to where people I know are, so I'll have my main to play with you guys. I'm also leveling a Lalafell character, which I'm very proud of the name I came up with. His name is All I See Is Butts, which is All I See Is Butts, because he's small. That's see what I said earlier about the juvenile sense of humor? That's what I meant.
Well done, sir.
Yes.
Well done. Well played.
You two and these two are on the fence. Ryu is not an MMO guy, and Mike is not either, but he said he might consider adding it to the timeline. So maybe, fingers crossed.
I am thinking about adding it to our retrospective series. I have not quite made up my mind yet.
Look on the bright side. If you add it, you can come in and play with all of us on the server, and you'll instantly have a lot of support from the TLS community.
But also be well behind everyone that's been playing for all this time, and some of those folks may not be so willing to take a step back just to help me get to wherever they're at.
I would can't say that I was level 8 when I came back, and Lex and Joe have been with me to get me to level 15.
Well, that's cool,
and up with the fact that I understand anything.
And the only time where you really need party members is in the dungeons, and you can redo every single dungeon.
Well, okay.
Not trying to put the spotlight on you, but you should play it.
No, that's fine.
They're definitely trying to put the spotlight on you.
Yeah, I know.
It's your podcast.
I feel
it's already on you, man.
Yeah, you know what? So, since we're talking about that real quick, for those of you that are members of the Lifestream.net, they just finished up award season here, and I have to give a quick thank you to every single person that nominated me and voted for me in various categories for the Lifestream.net awards here. So thank you very, very much. I think that's more a testament to the fact that people are enjoying the podcast more than they actually enjoy my boring ass. So,
oh man.
So, and also a heartfelt thank you to JT and Carlie and Ryu, Lex, Tetsujin Flitlock, all of you guys, who your personalities are really the ones that shine through and make this podcast what it is. So thank you guys very much from the bottom of my heart.
Wow, that makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
All right, enough of that shit. All right, Ryu, how about you? You got any speculation for 2016?
Cthulhu will rise from the ether, hit his head on a boat, and go back to sleep.
Excellent. Does that?
Yep, I purpose of this podcast.
Does that mean we're going to lose Yop?
No,
Yop is going to come back. Have you heard?
That's why he keeps working on the site. He keeps hitting his heads on boats when he tries to take over the world.
That does sound like something Yop would do.
So no Final Fantasy speculation from you, Ryu?
I don't think that we're gonna get. We might get Kingdom Hearts 3 at the end of 2016, but I don't think we're gonna get. 15. I think we're getting this year, but I don't. We've said enough of that. Well, not this year, but next year.
Yeah.
Because we've still got two days from this recording until it's officially next year.
Well, it would be like tremendous Square Enix troll, like tomorrow in the morning. Oh, here's Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
The internet explodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think most of the big stuff that's Final Fantasy related we're going to see in 2017.
Part 1.
And maybe at the tail end of 2016.
For me, I think I'm going to go out on a big-ass limb here and say that Final Fantasy 15 is going to make the Final Fantasy fan base happy as hell. I think the worth is going to have been worth it, or the wait is going to have been worth it, I should say. And I think people are going to actually very much enjoy their experience with Final Fantasy 15. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say Final Fantasy 15 might be the savior of the Final Fantasy series.
Please be excited.
So
absolutely.
You're prophesying that it's going to bring balance to the fandom?
Yes, absolutely. That is exactly what I'm doing. That is exactly what I'm doing.
But how did that work out for Darth Vader again?
It actually
really
worked out
well.
in the end. Yeah, it worked out in the end.
Yeah,
it cost him his life,
He got a wife,
but it worked
2
out in the
kids,
end.
a really stable job that had really good health
A
care.
bitch and tan.
He worked. Yeah, he worked there until he died. He loved it so much.
He ended up balancing the Force in the end. So
Hey, I just want to point out that before the prequel trilogy, there were hundreds of Jedi and only 2 Sith, and at the end, there were only 2 Jedi left. That's pretty balanced to me. It's not my bit, but still funny.
I'm also going to speculate that we will receive a release date for Final Fantasy VII Part 1 by I would say by the end of Q3 of next year.
Or at least a release date for a release date.
I don't know. We might only get the release date for the release date of the release date.
Yeah.
For Kingdom Hearts 3, I'm going to speculate that Square will troll us and say it's going to be released in 2016, but come Q4, they're going to say, oh, sorry, delayed to 2017. And for Bravely Second in North America, Square is going to continue to troll that it's going to end up in North America, but it never actually reaches North America and ends up canceled.
Well, they are planning on it for Europe already, and we know how to get around region locks for the 3DS now. We're not worried.
Here's what's going to happen with Bravely Second. They're not going to release it in the States, but about 10 years down the road, they're going to release it as part of the HD remastered of Bravely Default and Bravely Second.
Yeah.
They'll have the new standard of HD assets on the older 3DS assets. And that's a Final Fantasy Type 0 joke, which is kind of forced. Forced! Get it?
Very
Star Wars
forced.
hot! Nailed it.
But
Alrighty.
Ba-dum-bum.
Okay. So, we've moved through the main topics of discussion here, and I've been getting several people asking me, when are you going to get some more feedback in? So, without further ado, we actually have some time to get to some feedback this time.
Real quick, you guys have time to get into feedback? I unfortunately don't. My baby is awake and stirring, so I'm gonna have to peace out.
You son of a...
I will
right.
do. I have time to do one, so I'll knock out one real quick, and then I'll have to peace out. Because
All right.
I don't want to leave
So
for fussing too long, obviously.
We'll start
I
here.
hope you're not like that in bed.
It's kind of.
Let's keep going.
Let me knock out this email from Leo Gaming. It's nice and short. I have an idea for a next. Oh wait, we got to do Star Wars voices here. If we're gonna do.
Oh hell!
I have an idea for a next Final Fantasy game. That's not even fucking Palpatine. What the fuck?
Something Final Fantasy game.
Main character is from a poor village outside of the main city. The way the story starts is it's the player's turn to take a trip into the city to get supplies for the village. Once the player collects everything in the city, it is suddenly attacked by a neighboring nation, and chaos ensues. You run into an alley from the enemies and find a soldier, pick up his weapon to escape the city. On the way out, you meet the princess being escorted by her guards and is attacked by enemies. The player takes care of the enemies and all the guards are dead. You take the princess out of the city and head to your village. Once there, the princess explains why the city was attacked. They want to use her ability to control dragons with the Dragon Stone. You make plans to make your way towards the neighboring nation to confront the king and stop the fighting. The end, during the final fight, the Dragon King Bahamut, summoned by the princess before losing consciousness, would show up and help and aid in loosing a fight against the king. The king is vanquished, bringing peace between the nations. Once again, thank you and have a nice day.
This was not in the actual email, but the way that you said Dragon King, it cut out for a second, so I heard Drag King Bahamut.
Even better.
Also, that sounds like that sounds more like a Dragon Quest game to me.
Kind of.
With the focus on a princess, I don't know why. It just definitely feel and the you come from Podunk Village and you're going to that just hits all the Dragon Quest tropes in my head. Like it's got bits of 1, 3, 8, and 6, and a little bit of 4 of Dragon Quest.
Well,
it's turned into a horse. I just call it right there that this is Dragon Quest.
I actually kind of like Leo Gaming's idea for the game here. I think it sounds like fun.
Oh yeah, no, it doesn't sound bad. It strikes me as being in the wheelhouse of another Square Enix property.
Oddly, there are elements that sound kind of like they were taken from 2 and 4, which again kind of ties in with the whole Star Wars theme we've got going on. Leo Gaming, it was nice to read that. I like I say, you can't really create a 100% unique idea anymore because everything's been done to death, but I like that. It sounds like a solid idea. It sounds like a lot of good elements of it, and most importantly, it had Drag King Bahamut, so
which is another DLC that's going to release alongside Cloud and Address for Final Fantasy VII Remake.
People will pay buku dollars for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck you, take my money right now, Square.
I am waiting, and this is going to happen. I am waiting for this.
Make sure that you say in exchange for something, because otherwise they will say, sure, why not? And just take it.
Okay.
Anyways, I'm going to peace out. It's been fun as always.
Right. Yep. Take care, JT.
Later.
Have a good one. All right. We'll move into our next piece of feedback, which comes from Claude Stiff. I love his name, by the way. And this is... Boy, did we break Carlie?
I think she's going to giggle crap, yes.
So this is regarding the listener question from episode 11. Ryu, you want to go ahead and take this one?
All right, I'll be reading this in the voice of Chewbacca.
Oh, Lord.
Wait, no, that won't work. Yoda, hello. First time answering a podcast question this is. So my answer I'll make, possible is good. An announcement I would like to see of cross-dressing Cloud for use available in the main game. Imagine Sephiroth in a dress omni-slashing. Respectfully, Claude Stiff.
Claude, you at least got part of your wish. Apparently they did confirm that cross-dressing Cloud is going to be in the game. Whether or not he's going to be able to actually be used throughout the game is another thing entirely. But the image of Cloud omni-slashing Sephiroth in dress is fucking hysterical. So I might be a proponent of that if that were the case.
I would pay good money to see the night under the high wing with Cloud cross-dress. That would be glorious.
I mean, I'm waiting. They can just release a lightning skin for the game and just say, there you go.
Cloud's...
Because they do need to pay Lightning back for her getting Cloud's outfit, and Aerith's for that matter.
Well, they could give outfits to Tifa and Aerith then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd work.
Yeah.
Give Tifa like a snow costume of some sort and Aerith a Vanille.
No snow costume for Tifa. No.
I was just thinking because of the punchy types.
You just don't want her wearing a skirt, correct?
No, she'd get a Fang outfit, really. But it really would be better. Like, I know that Maya Sakamoto was Lightning in Japan, and so that would make a lot of sense. That's why she got the Aerith DLC. But I do think it would be hilarious for Tifa and Aerith to have Fang and Vanille costumes. And of course, give Sid the Saz outfit. Go against expectations.
Also got some YouTube comments regarding episode 11.
Joshua Modes wrote, just love listening to you guys talk about Final Fantasy. It's my second favorite video game franchise of all time. 5 exclamation points, winky face.
Thank you very much, Joshua. Appreciate it. And we wouldn't do this show without listeners. I'll tell you that much. I put a lot of effort into this here, and as much as I love Final Fantasy, I wouldn't be doing this show if we didn't have folks that were listening. So thanks, Joshua. Appreciate that. Looks like we had some responses to Joshua here. Looks like the Lifestream actually asked Joshua what his first favorite game was, and he stated, "Go ahead, Ryu."
Please don't laugh at me, but it's Kingdom Hearts, sir. There was also some conversation between Joshua and C. Ziggy about people laughing at others for enjoying Kingdom Hearts as well.
Why would we laugh at Kingdom? I love Kingdom Hearts.
I know that it's a lot of younger people's sort of gateway drug into Final Fantasy.
For sure. And I really don't think that anyone should be laughing at anyone over liking what they like. I mean, everybody has their own taste, and everyone has an entry point to Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts or whatever. I mean, I love Kingdom Hearts, and clearly Kingdom Hearts was aimed at a younger audience than what I am, but I fucking love Kingdom Hearts. It's terrific.
I'm still mad that they've never had Cecil in it because they're just squandering an opportunity.
I agree, totally.
Like, it's just sort of like have him be the gatekeeper to an area that he is standing guard over as the warrior of light and dark or something like that.
Totally. I mean, they could do a whole story, a little side story based clearly on his separation of light and darkness of himself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
mean, hell, continue Cloud's story with him, going to Cecil to deal with his darkness.
Totally.
I'm more mad about the lack of Final Fantasy IX characters aside from BB.
That is also, I don't know how well some of them would... I mean, we have seen Zidane put in less super deformed style. So I think he'd work, but I'm trying to think how would Steiner actually look if he was rendered like a real person instead of a cartoon, lump. which and I don't say that offensively because I love Steiner, but he is rendered like he's a lump. There's a very sort of old school squatch and stretch sort of aesthetic to 9.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
I'm with you. I mean, I think you'd probably look something like I'm trying, like maybe if you stuck Gabriel Iglesias in some armor, that's probably what he would come across looking like.
Wait, I know. We'll just have it be exactly Leon, but in full plate.
How about this next comment from Leo Gaming, Carlie?
Okay, it would be nice for Crystal Chronicles was brought to the Wii U eShop, and instead of using a GBA, I don't know what that is.
Game Boy Advance.
That would be on the gamepad and have online multiplayer or even local multiplayer.
That would be nice. What they could do with it, and I don't know if they could do this with the 3DS without an individual cart, but what I would love to see is DS connectivity, where the DS takes the place of the Game Boy Advance as the secondary screen that people used. Because you can sync up DSs to Wii U's no problem. It's done all the time in Smash. And heck, you could even you do it as a standalone, like with the Smash 3DS and the Smash Wii U, and you can do you can just port in your people and run them through dungeons with people, because that really was the point of the original Crystal Chronicles. It was, here's all these dungeons, run them with your friend. There's a story, but you don't really care so much. Like, you care, but it's secondary to the gameplay in that case.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Also, let's pretend that was my Princess Leia impression.
Isn't that a little short for a comment? No.
C. Ziggy wrote, also on YouTube, the good thing about Final Fantasy IV compared to a lot of other games is that almost every single character had a big impact on the story.
Even the ones who were objectively useless in battle, yes.
Yeah. They all had personality and excellent growth. It has tons of variety in worlds, mystery, plot twists, and wasn't actually that easy. It may be my favorite Final Fantasy of all time. 7 and 4 are equally tied, even though Final Fantasy 7 lacks some character development. But what it lacks in development, it makes up for in story. Even with that said, though, Final Fantasy 7 still has good character development. I just think Final Fantasy 4 handled it a little bit better.
I still have to know, like, maybe I'm just weird. Probably that is, but everybody thinks that 4 wasn't that easy, and I just like doo-doo-doo, doodly-doo-doo-doo. Okay, done. Doodly-doo-doo-doo, done again.
I think 4 is challenging for some, mainly because of how grindy it actually is, because it doesn't give out much of the way of experience points or gil. It's very grindy.
I think it's considerably less grindy than the 3 games that preceded it, though.
It could be.
You can just run, like, you won't be having top-tier equipment, but you can just run through Final Fantasy IV, getting into, like, if you don't run from any encounters, you'll be good enough to kill just about anything until the end game.
Yeah, and I mean, leveling up on the, do you usually do your level up on the moon? At the end of the game?
Usually I just do it as I'm going down and collecting everything. That usually gets me enough. But I always have a, distinct plan of go until this happens, retreat, save, go down again. So I've got a very dungeon crawly mentality to it.
Okay. This next remark was actually the only remark we got regarding the, or this was the only YouTube remark we got regarding episode 11, apparently. This one from Kazuya Mishima, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. They mess up that all I have to say I was planning to buy this game. Now I saw that battle system was let down. I'll just hack this game on PC when it comes out. My all-time high is now at an all-time low. Very disappointing. Rip Square. And he's actually referring to what was revealed at PlayStation Experience about the Final Fantasy VII remake. I gotta disagree.
I completely disagree. It looks like 7 is the sort of battle system that I've been hoping they'd make it to since 10.2 came out, and then they screwed the pooch a bit with 13. But it's actually, and not an action game, but an RPG where timing and control of the characters matters, and so you control all the characters if you want.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's ever played any of the Arkham series games, the Batman Arkham games, but all of the combat and that's based on timing as well. And I actually think it makes it fun, makes it more interactive and such. I can't wait to see how it actually plays within the realm of Final Fantasy. So, we did get a load of comments, YouTube comments, regarding the little mini cast we did for PlayStation Experience after they made the big reveal for the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer and such. We'll start with this remark from Guitar Wizard.
I'm interested in what you guys think about Cloud being the one to kill Aerith. Think about it. The player gets to that part in the game, starts controlling Cloud while he's struggling to fight being controlled by Sephiroth. Everyone is going through the notions and waiting for Sephiroth to dive down, but he doesn't. So the player realizes that he isn't going to show up. You are stuck trying to stop Cloud from stabbing her with the same type of inputs you had to do in the original. Inevitably, you fail. Cloud stabs Aerith while her back is turned. The player effectively killed her. Sephiroth dives down after it happened and gloats to Cloud about how helpless he was to being controlled into killing a close friend who he just earlier bit the hell out of and already felt bad about that. He then flies away and the boss happens with that theme playing. Now think about how well having that Buster Sword always on show, which wasn't there in the original and Cloud's back would fit, into how emotionally wrecked he is after this point. A constant symbolic image. I think it would be an awesome curveball that would really fit in with Cloud not to be a puppet and really make the player hate Sephiroth all over again. I hope they do it. Apologies if this was worded badly. I am somewhat tired. P.S. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to whoever reads this babbling of a tired guy.
See, I would buy into that if it was like an original game, something different. They would do that. As a remake for another story, no, that doesn't work at all.
Literally, the Buster Sword is already a constant symbolic image of guilt in the original narrative of Zack. So, for Cloud of Zack. To Zack, it means something else, but it's another symbolic image. But I don't think that this would be a good change to Aerith's death, because the entire point of killing her that way was to remove all player agency and make them mad about that. In this case, right. This is a different sort of thing, and this is railroading your player, which is worse. Because if a player has no option, they are mad. If you make a player do something and they have no options but to do that thing, they get pissed at you, not at who did the thing. They get pissed at you for forcing them to do the thing. And that's not what you want. Now, if you want to do
Agreed.
Something similar to this, and this is what I would like to see them do because it's so ballsy, end a chapter with going to save Aerith, from going to find her at the Capitol. Fade in and have the first few minutes of the new chapter be her death and the Jenova fight.
I can see that.
Basically set the tone that, shit just got real. Really real. Fuck you.
See, here's the problem with that. Final Fantasy is not a new game. You already know what's gonna happen, so really just ending it at one point or another, it's gonna change the fact that you know what's coming.
Oh yeah.
Correct.
My point, though, is that the anticipation might get to people. Rather than, instead of ending on the downer note and then allowing the catharsis to happen after that as they wait for the new episode, you end it before it and let the anticipation build, and then people have to deal with it.
I can see that. Totally.
It's not changing what happens, it's changing the way in which people experience it, which is basically one of the few ways we're going to get surprises out of this, unless we're going to make significant changes.
Which I hope they don't.
No.
Okay. I think that's all the feedback I want to get to at this point. We're running here about an hour and a half. I think this is probably a good place to put a bookmark in it here.
I'm just looking to see if there's anything worthwhile.
Radio Rager does say, hope they can put the option for Japanese voice with English text. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. I think Killa B is another one who doesn't like the new ATB system, even though we know very little about it. But the thing is, they've been changing up the ATB system since it first showed up in 4, so they're not going to stop now.
Yeah, and look, I mean, to be fair, I don't think we've seen fully what the new ATB system is going to be like anyway. I mean...
We've seen a grand total of 4 seconds of gameplay combat footage.
Well, right, but even at that, yeah. I don't think that they've completed how the gameplay is going to work, though. In fact, I think in one of those recent interviews I read, they weren't even close to being done figuring out how the combat was going to work, so... I'll read this one last remark here, and then we'll close this up here. The Gaming Prodigy states, Tifa's skirt doesn't constrict her combat since it's so short. It gives more freedom than pants or shorts. Carlie?
Okay, here's the issue. Martial artists are not going to use skirts when they're fighting. It's not practical. It's not done for anything other than fan service. I don't like it. It's not what someone like her would be using.
Like, if she's wearing any sort of skirt, she should be wearing shorts underneath. Like, she can wear the skirt for fashion, but she's going to be wearing shorts for functionality.
Shorts underneath. Yes,
like,
totally.
Have you played any Street Fighter game in the last 10 years?
No, but...
Sakura, Karen, Kanzaki, both characters who are wearing skirts, both of them are wearing bike shorts underneath.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I mean, even cheerleaders wear shorts under their skirts and stuff. If you watch, NFL football, and when they're throwing the cheerleaders in the air and stuff like that, you can see that they've got shorts underneath their skirts and stuff. So that's just practicality.
And she's obviously not wearing shorts because the scene where they're like climbing the stairs to Shinra, where she gets self-conscious about the boys being behind her. She's obviously not wearing shorts.
Well, you can still be self-conscious about people looking at your butt if you're wearing shorts. I mean, I have to deal with that all the time. Her issue.
Okay, I think with that said here, we'll close up the book on fan feedback here. We do have a bit more feedback to get to, so I promise we will get to that soon. I do want to go ahead and give out this week's question for the listenership, which is, what are your hopes for the Final Fantasy series for 2016? And that also applies, obviously, to the ancillary series as well, such as Kingdom Hearts and Bravely Default. So please feel free to register on the forums or YouTube comment us, Facebook comments, whatever. Let us know how you feel about it. We do want to hear from you, so please send your questions and feedback to us at lifestreampod@gmail.com. You can also reply to the episode posts each week on the Lifestream.net forums. Please leave us feedback on iTunes as well. I still have not gotten any feedback on iTunes aside from the one piece of feedback that we got from JT some time ago here. So please leave us some feedback on iTunes. Helps the podcast get noticed there and move up in the search rankings so that more folks can find us. We will do our best to read your questions, comments, and feedback on the air. And I do want to take this opportunity here to wish everyone a very happy and safe new year. That includes my co-host here.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you. And we'd like to thank you again for listening to the Lifestream Final Fantasy Podcast. Take care and always protect the crystals. Music featured on this episode is courtesy of Incompetech.com.